Good evening, folks. It is Wednesday, November 5th. You're over the hump, and you are listening to the Empower Hour with me, Don Wyckoff. Now, if you didn't know, the purpose of this show is to teach people that it is never too late, and it's certainly never too early to make positive life changes, to take a different path, connect to your passions, and live this life to its fullest while staying true to who you are. Joining me tonight is the Director of Research and Design for the Mobility Independence Foundation, which we featured last week. He's also the Vice President of that board at the MIF, Mr. Matt Lacey. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you doing
I'm
tonight?
doing great. So I'm looking forward to this. Now, Friday, we will be doing. Well, you guys will be doing. I'll be part of the panel, but there will be showing the documentary that you guys put together called "The Power to Move," a documentary that I watched twice, found it incredibly powerful, and it actually inspired me to pick up some of the old things that I was doing, and it kind of reinvigorated me to want to take a new approach, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But Matt, you are from Erie, Pennsylvania, correct?
Yeah, yep. I've lived in Erie, well, almost all my life. So,
Okay.
yep, this is where I was born. There was a short time as a youth I moved away, and then I'm back here and I've been here now for many, many years.
Okay, so why I find this fascinating with who you are and how you became, connected with the Power to Move documentary is because you're in Erie, Pennsylvania. You had never met Tom before. Can you tell us how and what was the antecedent? How and why did you reach out to Tom?
So, I met Tom during the pandemic times. So we were all exploring different new things to do that you weren't leaving the house because it was just that whole mess at that time.
It's crazy.
And I met Tom through an app called Clubhouse, um, and talked with him on there. It was more of a political group, which is not something we, really push with the organization. That's
Hmm.
just how this came about.
Right.
And talking with Tom, he'd actually had his chair crowdfunded he was in. He was starting to have issues. So it came to a point where I'm like, hey, I'll take the 4.5, 5 hour drive, go meet Tom. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
between 4.5 and 5 hours to get to him. Meet Tom, see what I could do to help him get his chair back up to snuff. And then there's many other things we talked about over the time, things that he thought he wanted to do. He was a slave to the outlet because these things run on batteries and not
Hmm.
the greatest thing. And we've done some things and changed some stuff and went to life before batteries to
Hmm.
give him to the fact that he wasn't a slave
Right. Or a
to the
victim.
outlet anymore. And that's just kind of where it started.
Hmm.
And you
Well, let's
know,
define this a little bit more. So, first, I just want a little background. Tom was actually running for what is it, the 52nd district for Senate.
yeah,
Okay.
yep,
And
for
that was
Senate in New York.
and that's where you originally got in contact with him. Now, at that time, did you realize as you were talking with him that he had this disability before he brought up the crowdfunded chair issue?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
and I didn't know him. The crowdfunded chair was done before I knew him.
Hmm.
So it was just he was starting to get little hiccups on this chair at the time that I had met him.
Now you're engineering and working with trains, right? You're the guy that something breaks down on the train, you figure it out and fix it, and that's the thing.
Actually, no, no, I don't work on locomotives myself. I mean, I work in a factory where we do build locomotives,
Oh,
but I
okay.
do maintenance on all of the equipment in a specific building now. I did work. I've been in maintenance 11, 12 years now. And I first started and I was on a crew where we went around and worked on the cranes and other like main building apparatus.
Hmm.
And now I'm in just a single building where I work on all the equipment inside that building that we use to produce
Okay, so you've got a
locomotives.
pretty good technology driven mind. You understand
Oh yeah, yeah. I
mechanics
look
of
at things
that.
and understand them
Has that
pretty
always been a gift for
quickly.
you? Has that always been like a
Oh yeah.
passion that you had? Always tinkering
Yeah,
kind of guy?
I've always tinkered with stuff. I've always, done all my own, home improvement projects or,
Hmm.
working on the cars or whatever it happens to be that I need to work on. Either I learn quickly to do what I'm trying to do or
Hmm.
fix what I'm trying to fix. Very rarely do I have other people fix things anymore, other
Yeah.
than stuff like roofs and things like, all right, I'll
Yeah,
leave that
yeah.
to the people that do
Yeah,
that
that doesn't have
stuff.
nuts and bolts. That just looks like labor, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
so I find it fascinating that, you talk to I've talked to a lot of people on apps before, Matt. I've been inspired by them, but I've not made a 4.5 hour journey just to go out and fix a chair of someone I've never met. What was it? What's the antecedent? What is the thing that drives you to realize that, hey, I can do something about this? There's thousands of others that can, but why was it? What was it that made you
Well,
decide that you should?
interestingly enough, so 2012. My wife was with me and she was on a motorcycle. We both had our own at that time, and she was in an accident, head-on collision with a car. And this was a long road of recovery for her. And during that road of recovery, it went from hospital to nursing home, which, oh my God, do not recommend ever.
You go on for
Especially
days. Hmm.
in your 30s.
Oh yeah.
It's just such a it's a hard experience.
Hmm.
And I spent as much time as I could with her, aside going to work. I spent as much time there with her as I could, just to keep spirits up.
Hmm.
um, so and at that time she couldn't put any weight on her hips because she had pelvic fractures, so she couldn't stand, wasn't allowed to walk. So she actually spent some time in a manual chair. And then
Okay.
from the nursing home to home, she was still in the chair because it was like, boy, it was a couple of months that she was in a manual chair where she couldn't do things. And so you see some of the obstacles you had. I had to get a ramp to be able to get her in and out of the house. You're moving things around to make it so everything is accessible as possible. And literally, it was hard to go on the carpet for her, so
Uh-huh.
she didn't really spend any time in one room of the house because of the carpet.
Hmm.
The rest of the time was all on anything that was
Yeah,
hard flooring surfaces. And these are obstacles you never expected to see, but those became an issue,
that's
From
right.
her chair, the counter heights are hard. She couldn't do much. So I was picking up, you have to pick up everything that you have to do to
Hmm.
keep the house going.
Right.
And you relied on the kids in the house to help you out, and so many things, because you realize, holy cow, being in a chair, she's helpless.
Hmm.
So I had this experience in my own home where it kind of it connected with me and it resonated when I met with Tom, where he had certain abilities, and those suddenly were becoming even more limited because of his lack of, or having issues with, his mobility aid.
So we can agree that this was not sympathy. This is empathy that was the driving force for you to make this decision to drive 4.5 hours to help fix this guy's chair. Are you a
Yeah.
religious guy? Are you
No.
spiritually moved? Was there a voice in the back of your head?
Now, I'm just one of those guys that likes to help,
Okay.
and I saw it, and it became, I got to know Thomas more and more, and it
Hmm.
became that I want to try to help. I want to try to help him. What's it going to cost me to go take that drive and
I mean, I think
see,
it's beautiful.
you
I only asked the question because I really love to pull that out of people. Like, what drives a person to do that? Because I won't get off on the tangents that I do when it comes to the spiritual side of things. I'm not religious, but I believe we all have this calling, and sometimes we answer it, and sometimes we ignore it. I'm glad you answered it.
Yeah,
That's
sometimes
great.
you just want to pass on some kindness. Sometimes maybe for some people, there's lots of regrets in their past life, and everybody has those.
Hmm.
And sometimes those regrets move you to do something for somebody else to create more good when, maybe in the past you've created some bad, or,
So that kind of
ill
helped you
will.
with your own self-esteem, and knowing who you are as a person matters.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
develop as a person over time, and we always hope that you develop as a better person over time. And I like to believe that I've done that.
Hmm. Well, you certainly have, man. I think this is awesome. The way this all comes together, and it's got to be bananas for you to 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 go from, like you said, the middle of COVID, going through all that you were going through. You make a sense, a selfless act and drive out, help Tom fix this chair, which, by the way, they're a pain in the ass. We're going to get into that. And then all of a sudden, hey, man, I'm in a documentary and I'm the vice president on the board for the Mobility Independence Foundation. That's amazing. You didn't see that coming, right?
No.
Yeah, I
I
get.
saw I saw maybe doing some open source stuff for controls and other things on Tom's chair in the future, and then
Mm-hmm.
it became a, hey, why don't we start a foundation? Tom approached me, and why don't we start a foundation where we're going to do open source things for durable medical equipment and empower people to empower themselves
That's
and
right. And so
try to
let's.
teach them to build teams, to build things that
Mhm.
help, um,
For the
regardless
listeners,
whether it's
break
a
down
power
open.
chair or other things.
For the listener, just break down open source hardware. Well, I think some may be familiar with open source software, but can you just like break that down and let people know what that's all about?
Yeah. So the open source is, it's not necessarily taking things and patenting and putting it behind a wall. It's all about developing things, sharing them with the community, allowing the community to improve upon those things and reshare and not put it behind a paywall.
Is that what
This
you're
is
saying? So,
all.
so what's stopping us from doing that all over the world? Why aren't we doing that all over the world?
Why? Because companies want to make money.
Huh.
Everybody wants to make money.
So you're saying they want to protect their intellectual property and don't want to allow it. I know there was a point where you guys were looking to
Right.
swap out just a just a hand controller, and you wanted to know if you could drop in these other components. As Tom explains it, you contact the company who says, "We're not giving you any information on
Now,
that."
this is, we quit making that particular piece. It's proprietary. I'm not even going to tell you what we could sell you to replace it,
Well, and
other
then you
than an
ask about the
entirely
schematics.
new system.
Yeah, and then you asked about the schematics, and even that they won't give you nothing, right?
Nope, they wouldn't give anything. They
Hmm.
just, nope, this is what we're going to do. If we're glad to sell you an entire system that we will program and we will do everything that you do. You will have no control over any other settings. Maybe you'll get the full potential of that chair. Most likely you will not get anywhere near the full potential of that chair,
Hmm.
but we'll sell it to you and there you go.
Yeah.
You put it in and try to figure out how to adapt it to make it work the way it actually can.
Mm. Now, Tom has a very particular chair because for those listening now who haven't heard last week or the week before's episode, Tom actually has something called osteogenesis imperfecta, better known as brittle bone disease. He's had over 2,000 fractures in his life, 100 of which happened just from one fall from a faulty wheelchair. This guy's in pain a lot, and he needs a specialized chair because that chair particularly has these airbag components, right? Like for suspension, air suspension. And
Right.
so
Yeah,
that
he
would help
has airbags
minimize.
front and rear, and they're
Yeah.
both independent of each other. And
Hmm.
that's, if you've ever been in cars that have airbag systems, it is a smoother ride as
Hmm.
versus, a spring and shock or strut system.
Right. Yeah. Well, so it's crucial for Tom in particular to be able to get there. As he talked about it, his insurance company basically said, well, here's the chairs that we'll agree that you can have, none of which would help him because of the constant issue with I mean, he would tell me that even going over a quarter-inch vertical rise and the landing of that, he could fracture bones from that. And so he was not able to communicate to these insurance companies because, again, they're just so disconnected from the actual decision making. It's just protocol of how we're going to deal with things, and that's how you'll deal with anybody that calls. So he really had no one
Right.
that he could talk to explain his need.
They lack they lack that personal experience of actually being in a chair.
Hmm.
Maybe we learn a little bit if you put every executive and every person that you deal with on the phone in a chair for a week and make them navigate the world and understand how imperfect the world is and how imperfect that piece of equipment that they are now stuck in, and put them in a week and tell them you can't do anything that you would do in normal life. Stand up and walk, stand up and move around. You need to behave just like as if you were a person that was in that chair permanently full time. And do you imagine what kind of change you could have if they did that kind of training?
I actually know exactly how much impact that can have. Without diverting too far, I've talked with you briefly about Through Children's Eyes. third grade students. We realized that sympathy was not a teacher, it was an awareness technique, but empathy is a completely different beast. Trying on the shoes is one thing, but living in the house of that, embodying that disability for a full day, and then watching all of their peers doing it for the rest of that month, it really put people in an experiential model that made them understand why there's an ADA, why there are door, width restrictions, pull force, paths of travel. That's what this program did, and it was able. These kids were so outraged by the very basic principle that, hey, that's not fair. My day in the chair, I couldn't go to the playground. I wasn't able to go to this. I couldn't do that. I wasn't picked on this team. I couldn't eat where I wanted to eat at the lunch table because the chair didn't fit under it. It wasn't, that's not fair. And that simple premise of, hey, that's not fair, made them look around and going, are you adults watching this? And then we inspired them to go, okay, well, what could you guys do about it? So they started writing letters. They started doing things that made a difference. They challenged their own school administrators to do what they were doing and spend the day in the chair. The eye opening that happened within that instigated a movement. These kids became advocates in third grade. They were actually able to write to senators and assemblymen for a bill, I believe it was 2008, 2007. It was called the Disability History Initiative. That would be a 1 week inclusion into New York State curriculum, basically for the awareness and etiquette part of disabilities. So that was being argued. The kids actually created their own video, which I've sent you. And made an appeal, talking about one, their experiential part of it, two, asking, what the hell are you guys doing? Do you guys realize this is like as prevalent as it is? Third graders. And then those senators and assembly decided to sign on to that bill, and the law was passed. This happened in third grade. This is how elementary this whole idea is of getting these things in. So the disconnect is education. So what I found so great about this documentary is it does just that. It educates and makes you aware, but it also gives you some empowerment in realizing that, hey, man, there's a possible career path in this. This may instigate, or a spark of interest in a child who goes, hey, maybe I love tinkering. I'm like Matt, I love to tinker. Maybe I could open my shop up to do some of the parts that would help this chair, for instance, and I can make them at a cheaper price. It's not propriety information. What is it called?
Proprietary.
Yeah, proprietary information or whatever. Um, so I could do this. I could sell it on Amazon, as which was part of what you guys are looking to do. Be able to repair these chairs, right, without having to battle insurance companies. So there is a modality, I guess
Correct.
is what I'm saying. I know we're going to marry this somehow, because everything you just said boils down to the same thing. We're not educating people. And when you think about the fact that there are 70 million people, 43.9% of the people by the age of 65 will have a disability. Dude, if you had a 44% chance of winning the lottery, you'd play it every day. If you had a 44% chance of
Right.
dying after a surgery, you'd be hugging everybody, writing your will, kissing it. So why the hell is this not in curriculum? And that's what I'm moving forward on it through Children's Eyes. That's what I'd love to work with Mobility Independence Foundation to do as a part of this whole through Children's Eyes approach to just educate and get these kids moving. I think what's so great is that you demonstrate that um, you're able to put this chair together, this highly advanced, super specific, monster ability chair. And you guys put it together 2 days, right? Didn't you assemble it in 2 days or something like that?
Oh
One
yeah,
of
we
the
did. We had one mostly apart, and yeah, we put it together 2 days on the floor at the SolidWorks event, the 3D experience for
hmm
SolidWorks. And SolidWorks is a CAD program. Actually, it's more than a CAD program. It started as a CAD program, but it is a CAD and uh,
computer assisted drawing CAD.
yes,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yep. It does simulations. There's so many things that program actually does. It does different management functions now. You know, they've made it a very, very all-in-one program for businesses. But
Mm.
we were partnered with RapAdapt, who does our mechanical engineering,
Right.
and they invited us with them to this event to highlight what we were doing, to take and redesign this chair and try to make it better and easier to build.
And able to obtain it. Yeah.
Right.
Because I,
And
I,
yeah, and to make it obtainable by others, make it repairable by others, something that we aren't putting it behind a wall where you can't see how this thing is put together. We're putting it in your face and saying this is how it needs to be put together, and make it as simple as possible, make everything so that you can obtain the parts,
right.
whether it's going down to Lowe's, getting on Amazon, or what other way you can do,
Yeah. And
get to obtain the parts.
one of the things that you guys were able to uncover was the built-in obsolescence of these technologies that would limit the time that a person could actually own this chair, quote unquote own. Um, and then you realize that you could swap out components and make this chair longer, faster. The $6 million man of chairs with some very common sense approaches. You did that with batteries. What was the difference in those?
Oh, geez. Yeah, with batteries, we went from using gel cell batteries. They're a Group 24 size battery is the size that fits in this particular chair.
Hmm.
And you have lead acid gel cell batteries. So they're rated at 74 amp hours. And if you know anything about batteries, and you're looking at that type of battery, the the amperage available and the voltage available over time goes in a very straight line down. So as you're using the battery, what it is capable of doing dropped very quickly. So in actuality, out of that 74 amp hours, you get maybe half of it, a little over half of it that actually is usable amp hours, because it just drops the voltage so low that it won't continue to run the chair.
What's the
So then you'll
reality
end
of
up
that
with
in time
yeah,
frames?
you'll end
Like,
up with like 40 amp hours worth of use, which might be, 10, 12 hours of pretty heavy use that you might get out of that battery before it needs to be charged or the chair just stops working. We
right.
switched over to using LifePo 4 batteries. We've got like three, four, five different sets of LifePo 4 batteries out there that we're using in different chairs in different ways. Um, and those are about 100 amp hours available usage. And with LifePo, the cool thing is your voltage stays very, very high and steady. It's a very, very flat curve until you get down to that last 10% of your available amp hours. So
Hmm.
you're now getting 90, 95 amp hours of usage, which is taking, it's more than doubling the capabilities of your chair to run. So it goes from, hey, maybe I can get through a day to, oh man, I forgot to charge my chair and it's my own damn fault 3 days in, where the chair dies because you literally forgot to charge the chair,
Right.
not because you're a slave to the wall outlet.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying that the new batteries that you guys put in there would enable basically almost a 3-day full live function of its abilities.
Right.
The
Without
batteries
without
they,
decreasing without
right. And that's what I'm saying.
decreasing what it's capable of to begin with, because you are keeping that higher voltage all the time.
Huh. So, so those batteries must be way more expensive than the batteries they put in the chair, huh?
No, not really. They're generally cheaper. You can find, I mean, with LiFePO 4, you can go really, really, really high quality batteries, and they are going to be rather expensive, but the market has changed so much probably in the last 3 years that it is so easy to find that size battery. They're Bluetooth capable, so you can actually hook up to your phone, install an app, run an app on your phone. With a lot of the newer ones now in the last probably 6 months to a year, they
Hmm.
have BMSs in them, which control and balance the batteries. That's part of the safety factor. It controls and balances cells in each battery. And then they also have Bluetooth where you can have an app. Your app will actually track where your charge is on there and your available amp hours of power
And give you a little
are
ding
on
to
that
say, hey,
battery.
man, plug it in.
Yeah, like, hey, you can check it and go, oh, geez, we're getting kind of low. I need to plug that in. Um, We're also typical wheelchairs charged through a small port, which is literally an old school microphone port in
Hmm.
XLR.
That's right. Yep.
And you can't put that many amps through that. They're rated for like 10 amps, so most chargers are 8 amps. So when you think about that, okay, I've got a 72 or 100 amp hour battery divided by 8. Okay, that gives 8 amp hours. So that gives you how long in hours it will take you to charge that battery. So you're looking at 12 hours to charge a 100 amp hour battery through 8 amps of power. So we use Anderson connectors, which are a little heavy duty. They're capable of 50 amps. So we use a 20 amp charger now. So 20 amps to 100, it takes you 5 hours from full flat dead to bring that battery back up. And the other thing about the difference between the batteries are um, your regular lead acid batteries, they love to be at 100% charge.
Hmm.
Anything below 100% charge is just decreasing the performance, decreasing the life cycle
So
of
that
that
curve of
battery.
performance drops
Yeah,
fast.
very quickly. So the curve of performance, the fact that they just like to be fully charged,
Hmm.
once you start cycling those batteries, their life cycle diminishes very, very quickly. So you might get a year where you're getting peak performance out of those batteries on your top end of the charge. And then you look at LifePo4 absolutely love to live between a 20 and 80% charge. So
Wow.
they don't want to be at 100% all the time. They
Well,
want to be in that usable range where you're going to see where you're using it without charge. And then
hey,
the cycles you get out
it's
of them
crazy.
are 5 times, 10 times more cycles you can get out of that battery and it maintaining peak performance.
Well, I'm just going to play devil's advocate, but maybe the insurance providers who are overseeing the price, cost, and efficiency of these chairs in connection and working with these things, maybe they don't know that those good, better batteries, cheaper batteries are out there. Is
Maybe
that
they don't
possible?
care because they just want to sell you more batteries.
Exactly. And that's the point. What I love about what you guys are doing is just in taking on what you've done, you've already uncovered a lot of built-in redundancies. You've uncovered built-in obsolescence, meaning that they're guaranteed to fail in this certain amount of time, thereby ensuring that someone will have to get another chair and again be able to bill insurance. And so this is a huge money-making thing. But what people don't understand is that it's on purpose. That the builders, the insurance companies, the people that deny all this kind of stuff, they have no understanding and don't think about the individual purpose or the person. So then they just kind of follow along and say, yeah, you're right. We can make way more money if we make this chair only work for a couple of years effectively. What you guys did is just by ripping this design apart and looking at it, you found ways to incrementally make it better and cheaper. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, that's the whole point is you
Mm-hmm.
want to find things that are commonly used, not necessarily in the medical industry, because the medical industry is very, very closed with everything they do.
Mm-hmm.
You take other resources, you look at robotics, like the robotics that kids are doing with all the battle bots or
Yeah, amazing.
the little bots that they make to do certain tasks, and those are all
Mm-hmm.
competitions that they use in around STEM. So, and those are the same kind of people you want to attract to this kind of thing because those are the kids that are going to be able to build stuff. And you
That's right.
impact them early, much like you were saying with the third graders, is you're impacting them early. And then they start to carry these learnings through life and understand that maybe there's more things that I can do in other ways to help people
That's exactly
that
right.
I otherwise would have never known about.
Especially when there's proof that there are people like you, Matt Lacey, who sees a problem and goes, you know what, 5 hours isn't that hard for me to drive out there, make a difference, and change this guy's existence. So yeah, when we can fuel these kids with the understandings, if we can get the general population to understand that this is purposefully happening, they're doing it because of revenue. And we all seem to know this, right? Like I give you a good example. I have people call me at least once a week, saying, "Hey, can I donate this hospital bed or this electric power chair or whatever?" Because I called my insurance. I've only had it for 3 days. My partner passed away. I called them and asked them to pick it up and give it to someone else, and they told me, "Throw it away." So I've watched that
That's
story happen
precisely
so
what's
many
happened.
times, and I'm wondering, does the average listener know that that is why your insurance is so ridiculously high? I mean, it baffles me why we seem to have this common knowledge that yeah, it's dirty, it's corrupt, but what the hell are we doing about it? You guys are showing a new way to do something about it that doesn't have a political edge to it. It's just a matter of community, people helping people, and just using common sense and the approach of people like yourself who have the engineering background, who have that just like to tinker kind of idea. You're presenting an opportunity for people. And I love that, man. It like so fires me up to know that there are folks like you that are still out there. It's encouraging because, man, we live in a society that is so disconnected from people overall. I used to get pissed about this, Matt. I'm going to give you an example of why I let that go. Do you remember the tsunamis that happened in Indonesia?
Oh yeah,
They wiped out what 150,000 people, just like that, right?
yeah.
Did you lose any
That
sleep?
was crazy.
It
No,
was, but did you lose any sleep?
no. I mean, it wasn't
It
local and
wasn't
impactful to
pleasant.
me.
No, absolutely not pleasant. But did it change you or your day? Or, I mean, not much, right?
No.
It's like observe. Wow, that sucks. Hey, what's for dinner? That's the problem. We're never going to be able to change the system in regards to getting people to feel a connection to people when it's all driven by revenue. The way to do it is what you guys are doing. Prove these things are possible and show that, well, yeah, you can go with the insurance if you want to spend out the ass, increase the cost to the United States and all the taxpayers, or you can check out what we're doing. And that side of things is inspiring growth, awareness, opportunity for revenue that's fairly driven. Like, hey, like for instance, the hand control issue. What if the technical schools or whatever, like BOCES and things like that, like if you go to BOCES, you can actually donate or give your car to BOCES. It'll take a while to fix it, but we're going to do it for free so we can use it to teach others, teach these kids how to use them. Why wouldn't that work with using mobility devices and take them into a school and say, hey, we'll fix it for free. We're going to use it as a learning mode. What happens then is it inspires children to realize, wow, this cost how much to fix? It took me 10 minutes. We can do better. And when they
Yeah.
see the
Well, and
connection,
even in that, we don't have, you're starting to see it redevelop. Back when I was in school, you had shop classes, you had tech schools, they were everywhere in every community.
mm-hmm,
And, we got away from that for whatever reason we won't get into.
mm,
But we got away from so much of that you don't have those tech schools. You don't have all of those types of classes. They were teaching every kid. Every kid went to a shop class.
yeah, yeah,
You
absolutely.
don't
What
have that in today's world. You
happened
don't
when I
have
was a
everybody
kid?
going to a wood
That's
shop
right.
or a metal shop.
That's right.
You
It
know,
happened when I was
when
a
I
kid.
was a kid, everybody had that experience.
Yep.
And you had the tech schools out there to do that. And we've lost so much in that tech. And now they call it STEM, and
I
it
was going to ask you
becomes,
to define
it
that
isn't
STEM.
necessarily, oh geez. It's more or less like engineering and classes that are hands-on engineering
Hmm.
for kids.
Okay.
And they aren't necessarily part of a curriculum on a regular basis. Usually it's an extracurricular that they're doing,
Mm,
whether they're involved with a robotics or something else. It doesn't become a core of the education system. It's an aside. It's an extracurricular. It's how so much of that is done in today's world. Now,
hmm.
don't get me wrong, there are schools that do center around these things specifically and do a fantastic job. And we hope to partner with these schools in the future. Even now, we do partner with colleges and universities on different projects.
Right. You guys are working
And
with Rochester Institute of Technology, right? Some really, you
yep,
know,
University of Rochester, Northeastern
Arizona too,
University,
right?
Arizona State. Yeah,
Mm.
there are several, places that we are partnering with, and it's great to see how when you're working with these young adults putting their hands on things and
Yeah.
see them learn and go, well, I designed it here, but now I'm trying to put it together. How do you even put this thing together at this point? They learn a lot of things where they're trying to take, and they do kind of look at the medical industry for inspiration, but then you try to bring them over and give them other industries to look at for inspiration. They're much more open and things are more available to study and understand.
Yeah. And with the
And
open
it's a
hardware,
great partnership for them to be able to take and put things together with their own hands. And it's like, I've never turned a screwdriver before. Suddenly I am.
yeah.
And they're learning a whole new thing as well.
And the whole open hardware thing would really, to me, it makes sense to me that that would encourage competition in a healthy way, in production wise, as far as that's concerned. I look at some of they used to be called sheltered workshops. Now they're integrated workforce environments, right? But these sheltered workshops were given particular jobs that were pretty rudimentary. And then they were paid, and, of course, they weren't paid minimum wage even. So I can see why we got rid of them. However, I think we could reintroduce the idea of that if it was something that was producing revenue, first of all, to be able to help self-sustain, but also to encourage new developments. I mean, you're one dude who got a call, who saw a problem and said, I think we can do better, went out there and did it. Because you had that technological understanding and you had your own experience with disabilities as it related to your wife, and then everything that changed in your life, that would ultimately motivate you to move forward, and this is the result. So what would happen if we did that standardized, like you said, integrate that back into the school settings for their understanding? I think it's a great move, using open source, anything, software or hardware. It encourages growth and competition that's healthy. Like you said, the kids that are doing those robots for the what was it called, the game where they play it in an octagon and they battle. Oh, battle bots, that's it.
But yeah, they have battle bots. They have oh, I can't. It is the first competitions is what they call them now, where they have the bots and they go and they put them in an arena and the bot has to do, specific tasks. Some of them autonomously, some of them by remote control. But
Hmm.
these kids are, they're learning to use the tools to put these together. They're learning to do their own programming for the joysticks and other things to make these bots autonomous as
Hmm.
well as remote controlled. They have arms on them. I mean, you've seen some of these things, and
Yeah,
these
yeah,
kids
it's
come up with
crazy.
some crazy
But
ideas, and
that's
they're
the
just
thing.
fantastic things.
Yeah, we introduced a challenge to third graders, and look what they were able to accomplish. You introduce
Right.
technologies and the fascination behind it, making it almost a sport. You'll find healthy competition that ends up developing new hardwares and softwares that'll help forward humanity. The trick is to keep it out of the handhold of governmental control. That's what I'm wondering,
Yeah,
when I heard.
that's a hard trick, is because it's not just that you're fighting government, you're fighting the insurance company, you're fighting the industry on its own, you know. So that becomes a whole nother giant monster.
It is, but I feel
Unfortunately,
like,
we the people don't necessarily run our government like it should be. It is much more we the corporations
right.
help dictate and protect
And it
themselves.
will stay that way unless people like you jump into the frame, and Tom and the rest of the crew from the MIF, who are inspired to go, hey, dude, there's an easier way, there's a better way. And this whole open source, open hardware idea, like I said, it makes you draw a line and you can go, wait a second, $65,000 for this chair, but you guys built it for 20 and did it in days instead of
Yeah.
holding
Not
up
only
processes
that,
in months. That's going to piss enough people off. And I hope that's what happens. I hope, because literally, dude, you guys created a pilot program to show what's possible to really cause, I don't want to say cause damage, but uh, to encourage at least equity and like an equal standing against these insurance companies who are just profit minded. You guys are showing that, hey, man, if we can do this, it sets up the parallel so you can look at it yourself. Is this healthy? Because we have to upset enough people to realize the differences and to understand that there's another way before they're going to do anything about it. Because I mean, the days of climbing up the stairs in Washington uh, doesn't happen anymore.
No, but even you said they're making these chairs um, in the industry, but and you're talking about how they, make them disposable. Just throw it away. Well, what if we take those chairs and readapt them with other
Hmm.
equipment that you can repair? I mean,
That's right.
when you boil it down, literally, it's just motors.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Motors, gears, and
the ones
cogs,
in the
right?
industry.
Hmm.
There's motors, gears, belts. How can you take these things and empower people to take gut out all the bad parts, gut out the electronics, put in electronics that you are capable of repairing, capable of programming, capable of making work. That's part of one of the inspirations we want to create is you take one of these chairs that otherwise would be in the dump, that's less than a year old because, maybe the person that used it passed, maybe it just broke and they're like, we're just going to send you a new one because it's been way too, this shouldn't have happened.
Hmm.
What if we
And it's
take those
illegal for you
things?
to resell that if insurance paid for it. By law, I mean,
Uh,
it's you're not supposed to resell that,
yeah, that's
right?
fraud. That's
Yeah.
insurance fraud.
I mean,
You know,
it's crazy. That's the kettle colored black. But my father, I just want to share this with you. My dad, he passed away a couple years ago, but he was very ingenuitive. He was very technical minded in his brain, always wanted to disassemble and reassemble to figure things out. I had given him one of the chairs we were told to throw away. My father, of course, put the batteries in and he used it for himself. Well, when it died again, he decided, you know what, I'm getting another chair. He took out the motor and the controller of that, connected it to a bigger battery, mounted it on the back of his truck so that the axles that would spin would wrap around a cable and help him pull his boat into the back of his truck. Brilliant. But again, all these usable parts that they tell you throw it away. Yeah, it costs $65,000. Yeah, we've jacked the price so high that the insurance system is never helping people anymore. It's crazy. But here we are reusing these pieces, encouraging
yeah.
the reuse of
I
those.
find that kind of funny how you mentioned your dad because actually I spent quite a bit of time looking at some different motor configurations on things, and actually, you know how trucks that are carrying either garbage or gravel or dirt or whatever that they have and they have those big long covers that go over the back of them.
Hmm.
Okay, those covers are literally driven by motors that hook up to a 12-volt system. And
Yep.
I was actually looking at those specific motors they use to take those move those tarps off and on big trucks and
Yeah.
going, I wonder if we can actually repurpose that into a design for a wheelchair. And I was specifically thinking more of like a child's wheelchair because it's a
Yeah.
12-volt system.
Yep.
And
Sure.
I was thinking, I wonder if we could take those motors, repurpose them into using them
Yeah.
on a smaller wheelchair.
Yeah. Well, you
They
guys
have
are.
the power to move these big tarps and do what they need to do. And you're like, I wonder if we could do that.
Yeah, you and your team are starting to show that idea is workable as long as it's integrated and taught to people that it's possible. And that's what I think this documentary does. I just want to take a break real quick, folks, just to remind you that the screening of The Power to Move will be November 7th, this Friday at 7 p.m. The doors open at 6. Um, and you can come and see the documentary. It's completely free. You're going to meet a lot of cool people. Myself and Matt and Tom are part of the panel for questions and answers afterwards, and we hope we see you there. There is a link to free tickets to reserve your seat at the Foothills Performing Arts Center.org or fpac.org. And again, the documentary is called The Power to Move. So, Matt, I think what's happened here on what the reason of what I do my show for. My show is about teaching people that it's never too late to take a different direction. You never know, but if you connect it with your passions, it will ultimately lead you to meet the people and be in the places doing the things that are part of your passion, and that will lead you to your next opportunities. Would you say that holds true?
Yeah, I mean, you find things you latch on, and it gives you something different, another purpose,
Hmm.
and this actually can be a very, very fulfilling purpose because, and it puts you in a place where you're like, see. what real problems in the world are, and
Hmm.
maybe there's things that you can do to help, you know. And a lot of people just go, oh, well, the ADA should help these things. The
Oh
problem
my God.
is nothing is perfect, and instead of worrying about the ADA fixing things, because, there's so many things that the ADA is not going to fix, this was it because they aren't forcing everybody to follow it. There are certain levels of it, but there's levels of grandfathering in that there's things that just can't be forced.
Yeah.
It becomes too costly, and it becomes a how do we make things that overcome obstacles? How can we help other people overcome obstacles? Whether it's creating better equipment to overcome the obstacles or being able to find ways to repair equipment to
Hmm.
just have something for somebody to be able to get not even the bare minimum. And that's the unfortunate thing is the bar isn't, hey, this is the bare minimum. No, the bar is, well, what can we do that is bare minimum?
Hmm.
It's not how do we get the bare minimum for you to live a fulfilling life. It's no, what's the bare minimum that we can say we did
This is
that?
where we start. But I want to clear up one misconception. There's actually people in industry that were actually putting out products that say ADA approved. I've been doing this 30 some years. I'm a New York State code enforcement officer, and I've trained 52 counties on how to implement the Help America Vote Act and making polling sites accessible for people with disabilities. Here's the disconnect. There's no ADA police. There's no structure. It's a law that was signed in to basically go, okay, we heard you. We're going to give you these rights. You're right. You know what? You're right. And we're going to enforce that, or that you have the right, but we're not going to enforce it. First of all, I became a code enforcer because I wondered how the hell are these code officers all over the state putting in, and this is a little not super technical, but here's the thing. There's a difference between New York State Building Code and then the ADA Accessibility Guidelines, or ADAG. ADAG is the federal standard, and it says parking spaces, for instance, are supposed to have a 5 foot access aisle next to an 8 foot parking space, right? New York State is actually more stringent. So the New York State code says that if you have accessible parking spaces, they need to be as wide as the parking space itself. Two places can share an access aisle, but it needs to be 8 foot. What pissed me off is that I would continually go to these places of trained people who are code enforcement officers, and I would see ramps that are too steep. Simple. It's in code, chapter 11. It says about the 1 in 12 grade for sloping, and that's the minimum requirement. That is also in ADA. But when it came to parking, they were taking the cheaper route and going, yeah, we will enforce all New York State things except when it gets to that parking thing because it's cheaper. And we're going to do the 5 foot federal legislation. The point of what I'm trying to say is people think that you just call the ADA. There is no place to call. There's no place. It's just legislation. You have
Now
to
you bring
enforce
up
it.
parking spaces. I
Hmm.
have an interesting thought for you and your audience.
Okay.
So when you look at power chairs
Hmm.
in today's world, generally you're looking at 40 to 45 inches long, and
Hmm.
that is how you pull them off a van. So now let's say you have a lift, so the lift has to accommodate at least probably at least 48 inches
Hmm.
plus a couple inches more out. So you're hitting 50 inches already just with your lift to get off of the
Not even
van that
including
you're
the
in.
flip that comes down for the.
Well, no, I mean I'm talking about bringing it down and out of the van.
Okay.
So
Yep.
now we're we'll say 50, 55 inches away
Hmm.
from the side of the van at this
Almost
point,
5 feet.
just getting it on the ground.
Right.
Now you have to get off of that lift.
That's
So
right.
that means you need another 40 to 45 inches of
Hmm.
maneuverable space without hitting something.
Right.
So we're at 90 inches.
Yeah. Yep.
We're at 90 inches of space you need next to a van that is a side load van with a
Hmm.
hydraulic lift on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I, I'm
So
I'm going to
you're
send you
you're
up.
8 foot for New York.
Yeah.
It's 96 inches. That at least gives you enough wiggle room to get off of that, hopefully without hitting the vehicle that may be parked next to you.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. And if
That's your New York standard, and you said the standard for The
Federal
national
guideline
standard
says
is
5. Yeah.
60 inches.
That's right. 60 inches,
60
5.
inches.
Yep. In New York, you can split it and it you can, two spots can share one access aisle. But yes, it's all about maneuverability. But the point I was trying to make is that there's a misconception that just like, they say, oh, there's, Medicaid will take care of that. No, there's this and that. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. And ADA, there is no ADA. There's no, there were people selling products that say ADA approved. There's no enforcement agency. There's no agency that's saying we approve this design. It's either you built it within the guidelines of the ABA. It could be ABA compliant or ADA compliant, but it's never approved. So, but again, there's not enough knowledge for people to know that to want to make a difference or to even try. So that's what I
Correct.
love about this. And the idea of experiential learning in children will kind of marry right along with what you guys are doing and trying to encourage these schools and colleges to hop on board, take on this challenge, because I find they are much more apt to care and want to do something about it if it's attached to a challenge. Let us see how smart we are. You're going to give us the room to try? Shit, yeah, let's bring it, man. Let's try. And that's where we
Yeah.
get these
And like you
robot
said,
competitions and
everybody looks at the ADA compliant, and the discussion about a van and the space next to it
mhm.
just said ADA compliant is not adequate.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's not. It's absolutely not. And it was produced because it was the bare minimum that people, they accrued all the input for people with disabilities across the United States, and this is what they came. I do not know how they landed with that 5 foot thing. I think it was because they were positioning so that the access aisle would be the last space before walking into vehicular path of travel and crossing over to the store or whatever. But people not understanding it, just put it up anywhere and put 5 foot spots. So yeah, you're right. And exactly why. I demonstrate that in one of the videos that we sent along about how to understand that. But I only diverged into that because the disconnect is education. That's the problem. You guys have created a pilot that shows that with a little education, some ingenuity and networking, that you could completely redesign this concept so it's approachable, affordable, and repairable to the average person. And for that, I commend you all. That is why I'm so excited to be a part of this. And I hope for the listeners, you will remember Friday, November 7th at 7 o'clock, Foothills Performing Arts Center. Please go to Foothills, or so it's fpac.org. You can get the tickets to put yourself there. And please stop and talk to us afterwards. If this stimulated anything inside of you and you wanted to talk to us after, that's the time to do it. So, Matt, I'm stoked, man. I can't wait to see how this goes, man. I want to. Like I've told Tom, man, I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Uh, but I want to show it to everybody. I'm just like, this is what's possible, man. You guys wrote,
Yeah.
and by you guys, I mean society wrote Tom off. They said, this guy is breaking every damn bone. He's costing us in the hospital. His $65,000 chairs are milking us, and he's not paying in. This guy ran for Senate. This guy now travels the country with a documentary team showing how this can be done. But it just goes to show you, he was written off for what his disabilities were. He never focused on what his abilities were when he was empowered and had the ability and the technical stuff that he needed to do that. I think this will help people see that we got to look at this differently. And they really got to get into these schools to, again, I say it, 44%, 43.9% by the age of 65. Most of us are living into our 70s, 80s, and 90s. We're
Yeah.
already
And you
seeing.
think about that 44%
Mhm.
at 65. What's the
Yeah.
retirement age for Social
The
Security? The
hell yeah.
minimum,
You don't think that's
I
accident,
mean, the
right?
minimum age is really horrid, but
Yeah,
they're expecting you to work
that's right.
65 to 67 years
Hmm.
old.
Yeah, and they're moving that up all the time based on, what I don't even want to get into all that, but I am so discouraged with all of that. And I know that there's very simple, practical approaches that we can take, the integration into the New York State education system, documentaries like yours, networking with these, I mean, Rochester Institute of Technology is It's a big school. It matters. And all you guys did is brought in,
It's a big hilly school.
yeah, and all you guys did is brought in some problems and said, we'd love to see what you guys think. Hey, you validated us. Thank you for coming to us. Hey guys, what do you think? And bam, people can't wait to get on the bandwagon and do something about it. You guys have
Yeah, you
formed
get
an amazing team too. I mean, all across the United States that are part of the Mobility Independence Foundation.
Yeah, it's
It's
interesting when
amazing.
we talk with these schools and the kids that sign up for these projects
Hmm.
and just their excitement, like, I feel like this project can do some change, do
I
something
love that,
really
dude.
good for people, and it inspires them.
That's right.
And you hope they carry that later on. I mean, once they get out of school, you know how it is. It's like, oh, I'm just fresh out of school, and like you got to get your life together because you're
Hmm.
talking about a whole change. But you
Yeah.
hope within a few years, once they've started their career and gone down, where they find time to be able to volunteer in other ways,
Yep.
or help others, in the voluntary effort, whether it becomes working with a school again and working with those age people, whether it's high school or college, and
I
you
don't think
hope it
people understand.
inspires them to do more and
Yeah, and
pass
there's
on
this,
more of
yeah.
what they got, the experience they got.
That's right. There's a systemic effect that will happen as a result of it. There are the students that will engage in it. There will be the teachers that observe and record the results, the power of it as is connected to its curriculum that it's already trying to do. They're going to see the ingenuity increase. It'll help with funders to say, hey, we started doing this, and I got to tell you, this is helping. We'd like funding for now. New funding's coming in. People are starting to pay attention. The program with Through Children's Eyes at third grade, dude, I had parents calling me after the very first year going, all right, because part of the component was I was teaching third graders, and you'll see it in the thing. I've got little disability, I don't want to say disability sticks, but they were sticks designed with pre-measured determinants on there to, if you could walk through a doorway and it's open at 32, well, it's going to pass. If, dual door pull force, vertical rises, little level changes and things like that, all things kids could measure at that age. I gave them these sticks. I taught them how to do the on-site assessment and had the kids go around the school and uncover all of the inaccessible environments. Because of the challenge and because of the kids had the tool to actually implement this idea, they went and discovered all of the same things that I, a paid worker who goes and does this, did. Now, what's that saying for me? A third grader could do my job, right? If trained. That's the fact, though. And they should be. Because what happened as a result was I had parents calling me saying, hey, man, my kid's all fired up. Apparently, my house isn't accessible, and I'd like to have you come over and take a look at it. I said, I can do that, but your student can do that and tell you what you need. I can help you find the resources to be able to get the funding for that. That is very limited. But the basic concepts and understandings of what presents limitations to people with disabilities, a third grader has. That is amazing.
Well,
Uh,
if you think about it, remember how popular "Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader" was?
yeah, dude,
You
exactly.
know,
Yeah,
are
great
you
point.
smarter than a third grader? Actually,
Right,
you are smarter than a third grader because you understand the resources to make things happen.
right.
However, the assessment is third grade level,
It is, and
you
it's
know,
so
and and
elementary,
and it's, yeah, very, very
but it opened
elementary.
that communication. It got the kids going, yeah, I know, Dad, but what if you get hurt at the job or an accident? And they were talking about statistics. There's 44%. I mean, they were going through all the thing because they had information and they wanted to just know, hey, Dad, what's going to happen to me if you can't walk and you can't get in this home? And now you're stuck in what we just talked about, the nursing home, right? I cover this a lot with nursing homes because I am probably one of the only people that vocally says it's not the nursing home's fault. But there's a caveat. Here's the thing: our administrations, our rules, our funding streams are set up so that those nursing homes cannot work appropriately. They can't. A lot of the people that are working in those nursing homes are great people, but the administration doesn't have the funds to relieve them when another worker doesn't come in. Because guess what happens? It's mandatory. You're in a nursing home setting, you're working, Matt, and I don't show up. You can't leave or you're going to be fired because you're abandoning your duty to this person, a whole kind of health code, blah, blah, blah. Who the hell is going to take that job on? Secondly, my daughter, she was 18, just graduated, top of her class in nursing, started in a nursing home. She was there 2 weeks and said, "There's no way I'm ever going to be a part of this. This is disgusting. These poor people," because the person in the nursing home, obviously, they're not getting checked on. They're not doing, the stuff that they're supposed to do. But on the home side of it, administratively and with the workers, they can't. They have obligations that they have to make particular rounds that are required for them to continually receive funding. So that's bed checks, that's doing, a temp or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But as far as did you peed yourself, you've been sitting and you need to be flipped over, well, that's not as important to their structure. And now you have one person taking 8 patients. It's burnout extraordinaire. My mom just went through it. She was stuck in a nursing home for 5 days. It was supposed to be an intensive rehab that she was going to, but they said, you know what? No, your insurance won't cover it. We'll send you to this rehab. And that rehab was a nursing home. And they have it in their,
Yeah, yeah. Calling a nursing home rehab is really not,
and
that's not what
then
it is
literally she
at
sat in
all.
an attends in a diaper as an adult woman, and had to go through that embarrassment and all of that because she couldn't stand, and there wasn't enough people to work that job. But there's no, like I said, there's no encouragement to want to take that job. It's almost discouraged. It's like we're
But
trying
you
to.
also look at part of what we want to do as an organization is we want to build community and teams. And
Hmm.
that's something, some of the reasons why nursing homes have come about more and more prevalent in today's world is because everybody's lost community, lost teams. Maybe these people wouldn't be in nursing homes if we learn to build community and teams around them again. And that's what we want to do with the devices being made or
I
to be
think that's
made
fantastic.
is creating the community and teams around people so that you're empowering them to live life the best they can and they
Hmm.
don't end up in these nursing homes where they can't live their best life because the resources are not there in
Hmm.
those homes to be able to take care of these people, to be able to give them what they need and create their better life,
Yeah, yep.
empower them to have their own better life
That's
and put a
right.
team
Yeah.
around them that can assist and help
Yeah,
that
this isn't
creation.
some abstract ideology. I mean, this is something that affects every person walking. Now, you could look at the statistics, 70 million or 44% by the age of 65, but let's also consider the friends that you have that are disabled. Your home's not visitable, those kind of things. You found out in a quick hurry, and fortunately, you probably had the funds to be able to create that ramp, the ability to build that ramp. You knew what to do, where to go, and blah, blah, blah. But for most people, that's not an option. And they call a place like mine, and I come out and tell them, hey, I can tell you how to make it accessible. I can tell you what's missing, what you need to do, blah, blah, blah. But I can promise you that it will at least be an 8 months to a year before anything is done on the best circumstances. If we get you approved today, because of the way the system is set up, it's almost set up to discourage people to either quit or die. So we got to change this, man. And like you said, it's very simple to do that. If the community is set up to be able to have these people live their lives, housing alone. We can't find accessible housing. We have a transition thing that we do at the Catskill Center, helping people get out of nursing homes and into homes, right? We have funding to be able to do that. But what we don't have is a housing surplus that's accessible or set up to be so. It's built in the 1800s, huge stairs, all kinds of problems. The more we integrate this understanding of universal design philosophy so that everybody can use it, um, we're incrementally going to change the community, and then it'll have less of an impact for the need of these nursing homes because it's making it easier for people to take care in their own homes. You know what? I just wanted to say, did you know the most accessible city in America?
No,
Just take
I
a
do
wild
not.
guess.
The most accessible city in America.
Hmm. Probably the world.
Ah,
Just think
geez.
money.
The only place that really makes me think about that, because my wife had experiences there, in her younger years, is Boulder City, Colorado, just because it is like a weird, like
Mm.
really nice city from my understanding, and it's a newer city.
It's
So
going to
I'm
be,
going to think it's going to be probably a newer city.
it's actually Las Vegas, Nevada. Why do you think that would be?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, Yeah, because they're all
So
about tourism.
exactly
It's the
tourists,
huge
but
tourist center.
they
And now
wanted
that
to
you said
make
that, I
it.
was in Las Vegas this year, and it's like, okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's
I mean, the
truncated
number of
domes on
people
every
they
part. There's every
well,
part of
they
accessibility.
there's a whole industry that rents mobility scooters in Las Vegas.
That's
We'll
right.
deliver them to your hotel
Mm-hmm.
room.
Yeah,
You
oh yeah.
see them all over the place
Why do you
when
think
you're
that
there.
is?
Yeah, because you have to walk a
It's not just
lot when you're
tourism though.
there.
Here's the reason. The reason is because Las Vegas, all the casinos, their whole governmental infrastructure realized one thing, and it's smart. And everybody should know this. People with disabilities have disposable incomes. They have money too. And Las
Yes and
Vegas was
no.
like, you know what? I don't think it's fair that we don't take their money as well. So let's make it completely accessible. So even people that are on fixed incomes that decide they want to spend can go home broke too. That was the reason, man. That's disgusting, but it's the reason. And when you look at it and you go, okay, well, if that's the case, well, then they've clearly proven that if we make the entire environment accessible, that people that didn't used to have the ability can now come and spend money. And
Yeah,
that was
and
what
I
makes
said it's a
societies
newer
grow.
city, so you look at Las Vegas. Las Vegas reinvents itself every what they probably
Absolutely,
roll over
man.
every
Oh
15 or
yeah.
20 years.
Yep.
So they've taken that opportunity. They know they rebuild constantly there
Mm-hmm.
because they bring in enough revenue to do so,
That's right.
and they've made it so hey, we can bring in even more revenue by doing
Cooperstown, New
this.
York. I pick on them all the time. I've worked with them. We have been able to make impact. We've been able to get in and make accessible pathways and trails and things like that. But the majority of Cooperstown is inaccessible. It's got steps, a good 6-inch step up into the buildings. Did it for reasons. Built in the 1800s. But when you're looking as a kid in Colorado and you're like Tom Queter's situation, hey, I want to go out and see that too. Well, there's nothing in the manuals or the literature that says you're going to be able to access about 3 buildings in Cooperstown. Everything else is inaccessible to you. That's not in the flyer. You find that out when you get here. That sucks, right?
Yeah, but why not make equipment that accesses that?
I agree with you. I absolutely do. Again, we will go down that whole rabbit hole of how insurance providers will get a hold of this and try to stop movements like yours because of some safety concern that you are clearly not prepared to tackle. This is why our insurance things because people are injured. Well, that's because you're building inferior products and you know it. And these people are getting hurt as a result. And that's why their insurance is going up. You're building in redundancies, you're building in obsolescence, you're building in fragility so that they will break and ensure that they have to buy another chair. That sucks. You guys are proving
Yeah.
that that does not have to be the case. So, like I said, my only worry is that they're going to do a Tesla kind of thing on you and go, hey, man, these guys are making way too much sense and inspiring way too many people. We need to either A, buy up the quote unquote patents, which there are none because it's open hardware, or they're going to have to attack you on the side of, well, you guys don't have the ability to do this and ensure safety. So once we cover that and cross those checks off, they're not going to be able to do anything about it. And you guys are going to inspire a generation of people to think differently. And for that, Matt Lacey, I am very pleased that you came on the show. I appreciate it. I will look forward to seeing you on Friday. It's a long drive for you. Are you coming down for the whole week, or are you just?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Will be traveling Friday. I'll be going home Sunday. Always something extra to do while I'm in Tom's space to be able to help him out. And actually, believe it or not, I've Tom has been in my house.
Mm-hmm.
My house isn't accessible. I've got him in the house. I can't make the entire house accessible easily for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I literally just build a simple ramp outside. It takes me 20 minutes to do it. I take it down when he's not here.
Yep.
But I get him in my house to be able to stay here overnight during different trips.
Yeah.
So,
One of the things I love about your story, I do have to wrap this up. I want to be able to get this out for tonight's show. But I just want to just thank you, man, because you've given Tom hope. You've given him the extension of your friendship, but also your knowledge base, which has helped create a very professional, group of individuals from all across the United States that were able to do this. This all started because you thought, hey, man, I can go 5 hours and help this dude with his wheelchair. And here we are. So, Matt, thank you for everything that you've done. Thanks for being a part of this. And I look forward to seeing you Friday. And again, one more time, folks, Friday, November 7th, Foothills Performing Arts Center. You can go to the website, go get the ticket. The ticket's free. It's doing nothing more than deciding, do we need a bigger room or not? So please do that. See us there. Open doors, 6 o'clock. Drinks and beverages are there. And we'll see you then. Matt Lacey, thank you so much. We appreciate your time, man.
Well, thank you for helping us
Oh, man, I'm
spread the
so
word to
honored.
people and make that more available to people to try to follow our org and see what we're doing and even take part.
Right. Now, lastly, Matt, where would they find more information about the MIF and be able to contact you?
You can find all of our information at themif.org, themif.org. All of our emails are available on there. Mine is matt@themif.org. We
Okay.
all have other members of the board and we have many different email addresses available if
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
anything you want to do, whether it's just outreach or support on building the equipment, or even, we also have a web portal launch coming soon where we're putting equipment closets together to be able to share equipment
Ah,
and share
that's great.
parts.
I want to be a part of that as well. All right, man. I look forward to talking with you this weekend as well. I'm going to be over to Tom's on Saturday, I think. So, all right.
Oh, you're coming to Tom
Oh,
Saturday?
yeah, I'm
Cool.
pretty sure. Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
All right. Well, thanks again, Matt. We appreciate your time and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you very much.